Stu, what is the technical definition of inflation?
Well, we always say too many dollars chasing too few goods.
Too many dollars chasing too few goods.
Right.
Okay. So, like, I'm just going to use this as an example, and I don't think this is right, but correct me. Like, if you have a supply chain breakdown and you can't get the goods.
Right.
Or if you don't have people going to work because the government is paying for them, so you can't get people to fill the jobs, that could end up in too few goods. Right? Is
Seems
that part
that
right?
way?
Okay.
Yeah.
And then too much money. I mean, is that when the government just spends money that they don't have and just prints money? They're printing too much?
Yeah, like if you were to flood the society with printed dollars, for
that's
example.
the actual economic definition of inflation.
I mean, it's technically the cause of it. Right? The definition is the increase in prices.
Wow.
But why does that happen? Well, too many dollars chasing too few goods.
We should send that to the White House because I don't think they understand that. They've just paid off the loans for another 500,000 kiddos. Now, I don't know about you, but I went to one semester of college at 30 because I couldn't afford more. So instead of getting strapped with debt, I read 7,000 books in 10 years. I educated myself. Would I have loved to go to school? Yeah, I was going to school at Yale. Would have been nice. Glad I didn't now in retrospect. But couldn't afford it. One semester. Why is the guy who went to college for one semester because he couldn't afford it and didn't feel that it was the responsible thing to take out loans to go to school, why am I now paying for someone else that I don't know through my tax dollars, paying off a loan for an education I most definitely do not agree with? I'm sorry. Oh, we were talking about inflation. What happens when you pay off everybody's student loan like that? Isn't that a giant influx of...
Well, because, I mean, the theory is, right, if you have a situation where you're worried the economy's overheated, right? That's what they're worried about with inflation. They're saying the economy's overheated.
Right.
We need to raise interest rates.
Correct.
To cool the economy down.
To try to choke back some of that cash flow.
Because the inflationary problem is real.
Right.
So you wouldn't want to introduce, let's say, a brand new stimulus program into the middle of that. Obviously, that would be completely insane.
But they're all college educated, so they'll take that monthly debt that they used to have to chip away at, and they'll just take that, and I'm sure they'll save it in a box. They won't even put it into the bank that the bank could reuse to loan to other people. They'll just keep it in a box.
When you have too much money... chasing too few goods, then what you don't want to do necessarily is send a bunch of people who are already wealthy a bunch of money so that they can spend it and make the problem worse. And the reason we know this is a stimulus program, Glenn, is because this is precisely how the administration sold the idea when they came up with it like a few months ago, when they were saying what we need to do is we need to release these people from student debt and it will stimulate the economy. They told us it was a stimulus program.
Will you do me a favor? Will you do me a favor? Write down that definition that we just talked. And would you just email the White House?
Because they probably just don't know.
Yeah, I think so, because they say it's Putin causing the inflation.
The Putin price hike?
The Putin price. You've heard of it.
I've heard of it. That's the whole cause.
So let me ask you this. Speaking of the Putin price hike, I got a couple of questions on this one. Biden just announced another $700 million in military aid for Ukraine. Now, first we sent over, I think, $3 billion. Then we sent over, I think, 10 billion. Then we did another, 41 billion, right? Mm-hmm. So that brought us up to $58 billion. And then, by the way, how much do we, because this can't even be close to what we send over to evil Israel, who gets the lion's share of all of our money. We're always helping Israel out and sending all kinds of money over to Israel to build up their Zionist army. How much is that?
About $3 billion.
I'm sorry?
But $3
billion. Mm-hmm. That's a month, a week?
A year.
A year. Mm-hmm. $3 billion is what we send over to evil Israel that just has to stop. Mm-hmm. Okay. And we've sent now about $60 billion over to Ukraine, which is not good in the accounting world. Let me just put it that way. Some might say it's corrupt. I say just bad accounting. You know, hey, it happens. So $60 billion. And then yesterday, just a week after we sent another $1 billion, which the week before we sent $41 billion. Biden said yesterday, hey, we have to send him another $700 million. Can I ask a question? Either what's happening to the money that we've already sent, or are we this bad at numbers to where we're like, hey, the White House is asking for 30, and the Democrats in Congress go, no, we're going to make it 40. And so they give him an extra $10 billion, and then he's like, oh, but I need one more. A week later, oh, I need $700 million. Isn't this like a teenager? Wouldn't you start questioning your teenager if they came to you and said, hey, it's really important I get an education, right? Yes. Well, it's going to cost $250,000 for a 4-year education. And you're like, okay, well, you don't have to work for it at all. I'm going to just write that check. And then they come back and go, there was more in tuition. I need actually $500,000. And then you would say, I'm going to give you $700,000. And then a week later, they come back and go, I need another $2,500. Okay. And then the next week, I need another $5,000. At what point do you realize you're a moron or your kid is jiving you? At what point? Now, I know that what works in your house isn't the same as it is in Washington. I know for a fact that the things that work in your business, those principles don't apply for governments. And I'm sure if you did that with your kid, you might just keep writing that check and then go broke because you're a moron. But I'm sure your boss would never question, right? If you're making a pitch to a client and they say, well, how much is this going to be? And you say, I don't know, 30,000. And they, for some reason, somebody at the desk goes, oh, you know what? I'm going to give you 40,000. Yeah, but it's 30,000 that I want you to have 40,000. You just make sure everything is covered. Okay, thank you. That's nice. And then you get to 60,000. Okay. And then you just ask for more money every single week. At some point, doesn't someone in the boardroom say, what the hell is going on here? Well, it's just these printing costs. They just keep going up. I don't think so. You didn't foresee that? You didn't foresee? Because we padded this with an extra $10 billion. And you keep telling us the war is going so great. What are you spending the money on? By the way, we're sending them our old stuff. So it's not like they're buying new stuff from, Raytheon We're not sending them the best and the newest and the latest. No. We're sending them our old stuff along with our money. And then, because we're depleting our stuff, we also get to buy the latest and greatest. And yes, it's going to cost a few dollars more, but we can afford it. I mean, you're saving money by buying this equipment. Oh my gosh. How dumb are we, America? At what point do your neighbors wake up and go, yeah, this doesn't make any sense? At what point do we stop playing politics? I don't give a flying crap if it's a Republican or a Democrat or a flying squirrel. I don't care. Does anyone have an ounce of common sense? I'm not sure. Might be just you and me.